Have you ever seen a rap beef start over a simple punchline? If you've been watching the channel for a while, you probably have, but let's talk about another one, shall we? New Jersey rapper turned podcaster Joe Budden and Brooklyn rapper Saigon had issues with each other going back to around 2008. Saigon around this time was an up-and-coming rapper who, after being released from jail, began rapping and releasing mixtapes, garnering a buzz and eventually signing to Atlantic Records to release his debut album. The label unfortunately wouldn't release it without him releasing radio-friendly singles, which if you've seen my video on Lupe's history with Atlantic Records, then you probably already know how that goes. He eventually found his way off the label and then wound up signing to independent label Amalgam Digital and released his debut album, The Greatest Story Never Told, in 2011, after several years of record label issues. Ironically enough, this is also the label Joe wound up signing to after he left Def Jam. Speaking of which, Joe released his debut self-titled album in 2003 on Def Jam, was featured as a character in 3 of the Def Jam Vendetta games, and had a hit single with Pump It Up, which was featured on his debut album, as well as the Too Fast, Too Furious soundtrack released also that year. That track is the reason people till this day call him a one-hit wonder, which is a bit of a stretch, as he had or was featured on a few other singles that were on the Billboard charts also. Pump It Up would be the biggest one, however. By 2007, he was off Def Jam, had beef with Jay-Z among other rappers, and was known as a bit of a problematic yet highly skilled rapper. Joe released a series of mixtapes over the years titled Mood Music. On his Mood Music 3 mixtape, released in December 2007, he has the track Roll Call, and here is where the trouble between the two lyricists start. On the second verse of the song, Joe has the lines, "Soon as my wife gone, they jump on the python, they ain't know I'm out to hit and run like Saigon." To Joe, this might have just been a slick punchline, but it clearly didn't sit too well with Saigon. In case you don't know what that is a reference to, Saigon and Mobb Deep had a beef around this time, and they wound up getting into a physical altercation in SOBs earlier that year. The hit and run is a reference to Saigon hitting Prodigy from Mobb Deep and then running out of the venue being chased by Mobb Deep's crew. Also, it could be considered a double entendre, being a reference to the city in Vietnam, Saigon, and the Vietnam War. Joe and Saigon at this point started going back and forth at each other in interviews and on wax. For example, Joe on Smack DVD was asked about recent rappers who had beef with him, like Saigon and Prodigy. Yeah, funny thing is, not only was Saigon beefing with Prodigy around this time, but Joe was also. In response to the mention of Saigon, Joe explained by stating that it was over the line and said that it was just a punchline, not intended to be a diss to Saigon.
First off was Saigon. You know what I'm saying? He had a blog, and basically he said he was gonna smack Earth, Wind, and Fire out of you because of the lyrics you said in a freestyle on BET. Which lyrics was he referring to? And you know what I'm saying? Can you explain like exactly
as soon as my wife's gone, they jump on the python. They don't know I'm out to hit and run like Saigon. Putting back the ice on, had it screwed up. I finally figured out that hate is the new love. And it went on and on and on. It's a track called Roll Call off Mood Music 3. If you don't have it, make sure you go get it. That was the line. I didn't really mean nothing by the line. I didn't say it to purposely ruffle his feathers. But yeah, he caught offense to it. He got sensitive over it like a lot of MCs do.
So basically, if he got offended over it, that's on him. Joe dissed Saigon with the aptly titled track, Letter to Saigon. He speaks on how Saigon took the line the wrong way with the lines, "Say what I feel, it ain't my fault, they feel what I say. Seem like in every interview, niggas wanna mention dude. You took my good punchline, got it misconstrued. Ain't diss you then, but nigga now I will. I'm just saying how I feel." He goes on to diss Saigon's then awaited debut album, The Greatest Story Never Told, with the lines, "The greatest story never told won't be ever told. Mixtapes never sold. Leak the shit, let it go. How you gonna be a big name in the future, not even big named as a loser?" He goes on to speak on Saigon's co-signed by Rockefeller producer Just Blaze with the lines, "You backed by a big name producer who gave the smash to T.I. Can't even be mad at Just, cause I can see why." Which leads me to wonder what the fans would see if we turned to Saigon TV. We'd see an artist struggling to get buzzing with the best production. Just Blaze was known for producing a lot of tracks for artists like Jay-Z, Dipset, and State Property, as well as producing the Joe Budden singles Pump It Up and Fire from his debut album. The T.I. mention seems to be a reference to the fact that Just Blaze produced the hit single Live Your Life by T.I. featuring Rihanna that was on the Paper Trail album. Just Blaze also produced other songs for T.I. on albums prior to that. The Saigon TV line is likely a reference to Joe Budden's own YouTube channel, Joe Budden TV, which he started posting videos on back in 2007 and is now the home to his podcast aptly named The Joe Budden Podcast. Side note, Joe Budden is one of my brother's favorite rappers, and he's one of my favorite podcasters. I've watched his channel on and off for like a decade now at this point. Further in the track, Joe essentially calls out Saigon for some mixed signals in the messaging in his music and how he handles his personal relationships with the lines, "I see a nigga stay talking about the kids, but wanted nothing to do with one when it was his. You would take her phone calls till she said it's yours. That's when they got crisscrossed. You started hitting ignore." In other words, a woman called Saigon saying her baby was his and he stopped speaking to her. So how can he really be for the children if he didn't want to be there for his own, allegedly? He ends the song quite nicely with the lines, "Let's get back to Sai. As far as SOBs, I'd have done the same thing and been proud. I wouldn't have cried. You jetted on tape, nigga. How you gonna lie? So if you're feeling like a sucker, then ask yourself why." He ends the diss track directly giving Saigon something to think about. Remember, the whole beef essentially started because Joe used Saigon's name in a punchline about the SOB's altercation. Here, Joe states that he would have done the same thing and been fine with it. However, Saigon instead got bothered by it and had something to say about Joe. Saigon responded with the track Underachiever. He starts off telling a rather comical story about meeting Joe Budden and how he had bad breath. He then responds to the lines Joe had about the Greatest Story Never Told album not dropping with the lines, "Oh yeah, you had a point there. My album didn't drop, but your album dropped and flopped, so suck a cock, ock." Joe's debut album hadn't even reached gold certification, let alone platinum, so to some people, it would be considered a flop from an artist on a label like Def Jam. He continues with the lines, "Smart get smarter, dumb get dumber. How the hell did I end up beefing with One Hit Wonder? I tried to bait Fifth, attempted to bait Wayne. Now look, I end up trading shots with a straight lame." At this time, 50 Cent and Lil Wayne were two of the biggest rappers in the industry. He threatens to take the beef to a physical level and mentions Joe's beef with fellow rapper Ransom with the lines, "Whatever you're smoking better be hoping it's so potent you don't feel your fucking nose get broken. That's what has to happen. Joey thinks I am only rapping, not knowing I am going to slap him. Forget about Ransom, nigga. You come and see me, I'll lay your ass out right on Joe Budden TV." Once again, Joe Budden TV was Joe's YouTube channel. He then goes on to say that Joe Budden's son is gay with the lines, "You mentioned my seed, you bothered the right one, cause Lil Trey is gay, like father, like motherfucking son." That of course being a reference to when Joe mentioned Saigon's child's mother in Letter to Saigon. Overall, it's not a bad response. He directly responded to a few lines from Letter to Saigon, but between the two, personally, I'd probably take Joe's diss. Joe Budden came back with the track Pain in His Life. The title is a reference to the Saigon single Pain in My Life featuring Trey Songz from 2006, and it uses the beat from the track You, Me, Him, and Her featuring Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak, Beanie Siegel, and Emil from the Dynasty Rock La Familia album released in October 2000. Joe comes out swinging with a direct response to Saigon's track Underachiever with the lines, "Underachiever was an underachiever, almost thought you would come with the ether." Of course, Ether is considered one of the best diss tracks of all time, and it's one that is easily in my top 10. Joe then has a string of lines with a punchline about the 5 senses, which I found to be pretty good as well. "I'm the bomb with the pen, I'm more like a bomb with no pin. How the fuck is Saigon gonna win? He a loss of interest, talking about my son is senseless. So I make sure the dude can't see, smell, or hear, can't touch, can't taste. Now he defenseless, cause ain't a bullet in this world he can bench press." And of course, those lines are a direct response to Saigon calling Joe's son gay in the Underachiever track. He then responds to the mention of Tahiri with the lines, "Speak Tahiri, I'ma speak Austin, the one that'll suck your dick if you flossing, game old bitch that everybody was tossing, the one that you literally begged for that abortion. So we both gone wild, so we both love hoes and that's just our style. But Sai, if you think it's different, my nigga you gonna see now. I just kissed mine and yours is the mother of your child." Direct responses to the previous lines are the kind of stuff I like to see in a diss track. Joe then takes a shot at Saigon for his prison stint with some of the funniest lines in the track. "But prison was the only place he was next to blow, so he calls me a fag like he homophobic, cause they had him on his knees like homo hold it, Run around be screaming, oh don't poke it, it's a small world, how you think Joe don't know it? Guess there's where the lies get deeper. He went in a tight end and came out a wide receiver. There's bones in your closet that you can't hide. Fans know you went to jail. Me, I know why. It's a common perception that when you're in jail, you're likely to get raped. And Saigon served time in jail, like I mentioned previously. He then goes on to take aim at Saigon for the flexing of his muscles that he has done with the lines like who he gonna threaten next. Fill his whole body with metal, now he weapon X. Had the upper hand from go, shirt always off, how does it feel, D'Angelo? The whole body filled with metal and Weapon X is a double entendre for the Marvel character Wolverine. Keep that Weapon X line in mind as well for later. Joe ends the diss track with a simple line and requests a Saigon. Cut the track off, listen to your thoughts, checkmate. When you finish hearing a song, the natural reaction would be to turn it off and maybe think about what you just heard. This being a diss track, many personal things were said that Saigon might contemplate over. It's kind of like when you have a woman go off on you because she's upset and then she hangs up the phone and you sit there and think for a while like, why is this chick so angry? Okay, wait, no, maybe that's just me, never mind. Overall, the diss track was an improvement over Joe's first one, Letter to Saigon. I'm not the biggest fan of the beat that he picked though. I like the punchlines and responses to the lines that Saigon had from Underachiever. Saigon responds to pain in his life with what is probably my favorite diss track from the beef, Pushing Buttons. A large part of the reason I like the track above the rest is because of the beat that Saigon chose to use, that being Protect Your Neck by the Wu-Tang Clan, one of my favorite hip-hop songs of all time. Saigon comes out the gate accusing Joe of needing help with his diss tracks against him with the lines, prior to the jerk releasing his little verse, I went on the internet and did me a little search. I got on his website, took a look at the forum. This nigga got some white kids making up lines for him. Here I am thinking, I wonder what he gonna do with him. His record came out and the motherfucker was using them. That should be a crime. You had enough time. He even called Royce the 5'9" asking for lines. He goes on to make a reference to Joe's beef with Ransom again, as well as his beef with DJ Vlad with the lines. Wasn't he acting like a gangster at the Applebee's when his man got slapped? He blamed Vlad TV. The Applebee's line is a reference to a video Joe posted on his YouTube channel outside of an Applebee's where he was talking about the beef with Ransom. Joe's long-standing beef with DJ Vlad goes back to this incident where Ransom and a group of people went to the residence of a friend of Joe's and one of the guys wound up smacking him. It was recorded and posted on the Vlad TV YouTube channel. Ever since then, Joe has had issues with Vlad and has spoken out against his journalism essentially. He brings up producer Just Blaze again also with the lines, "You made Just all this money, but you a dummy. Where is he on your new shit? Why he ain't do shit? I got 10 Just joints super exclusive. Nobody will be in the mood for your music." This is a response to Joe's line from Pain in His Life about Saigon being signed to Just Blaze. The line about having 10 Just joints came to be true as Just Blaze wound up producing the majority of Saigon's debut album, The Greatest Story Never Told, which was released in 2011. And of course, the Mood Music line is a double entendre about Joe's mixtape series. He calls Joe's son, Trey, gay again with the lines, "Making homo jokes, well, hardy har, but it's your son playing with Barbie dolls, pa. Joey, you better buy him a basketball before you catch a little nigga sucking dick in the bathroom stall." Which are probably some of the most flagrant lines in the whole song, honestly, and really stand out above the rest for their harshness. But personally, they're some of the funnier lines to me from the track. Apparently, due to lines like this, Joe's son Trey took up rapping himself, according to an interview he had years later about the incident. He started rapping in order to diss the guy who called him gay during one of his father's rap beefs. Talk about inspiration, am I right? Saigon gave his thoughts on that when he made an appearance on Matt Hoffa's Expert Opinion podcast in 2021.
Mike Ruger, go look at Mike Ruger. It's all over Hip Hop DX, all that.
Right.
You can Google it. So they asked him, yo, what got you in the rap? Following your father? He said, yo, nah, my father got in a rap battle when I was small, and there was some rapper named Saigon. Called me a faggot. Nigga tried to say I was a faggot. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, I must have been 11. I said I went to my daddy crying, shit,
Crazy.
crying like, yo.
You made Joe Budden's son cry?
Bro, I made that nigga rap too.
Now back to Saigon pushing buttons. He claims that Joe stole his rap flow from fellow New York rapper Graf with the lines, "Your flow, you don't own it. You stole Graf flow. Everybody know it. Just go and listen to Focus." Focus is one of the singles released from Joe's debut album that was released before Pump It Up. It was also featured on the game Def Jam Vendetta. Saigon finishes the last 8 bars of the verse with a whole lot of words starting with the letter J, which is a reference to his track Letter P with Kool G Rap, where they both used heavy alliteration with the letter P. Saigon then ends the verse with the line, "If I'm the weapon X, yep, Joey, you're Jubilee." Once again, another direct response. If you don't know much about the X-Men, Jubilee was a female member of the team and one of the youngest overall. On top of that, Wolverine plays a bit of a mentor or father figure role to Jubilee at times, which would be Saigon basically calling Joe Budden a kid to him. After the verse, the beat switches from Protect Your Neck to Pump It Up, and he calls Joe and his son gay once again and ends his verse blaming Joe as the one who brought kids into the beef in the first place. So yeah, that's my favorite diss track out of the 4. I'd say both Joe and Saigon did better on their second tracks than their first. I guess the first diss track set off a chain reaction of them getting more personal and having more to really respond to. Once again, Pushing Buttons was really a standout because of the beats that were used, but I also found several lines in it to be pretty humorous. If you're going to do a diss track, make it entertaining, use a decent beat, and have some hard-hitting personal lines. Spitting facts can really help, especially if you don't excel in other areas. After the diss was released, Joe posted a video on his YouTube channel of one of his friends listening to the track and getting their reaction. Why? Who knows? Maybe he thought it was funny. Shortly after this, in February 2009, Vlad TV posted a video clip of a Saigon interview where he was asked about his rap battle, that being with Joe Budden, and he says things like he gets people sent to jail and he's fake and the like. He then essentially continues on to say that he's not a battle rapper and he'd rather fight Joe, but Joe is scared. You could say this is one of the first rap beefs that really directly involved YouTube, given all the times Saigon referenced something on Joe's YouTube channel, not to mention Vlad's channel. I'm sure y'all want to know how this beef wrapped up though, right? Well, it seems like once again, phone calls are all that it takes. One example being Angela Yee during her show on Shade 45. She got Joe and Saigon on a call and spoke on air. One of the things Angela asked was if things were going to get physical, and Joe basically stated that Saigon has anger management problems, to which Saigon agreed.
Question, because I never thought this beef was ever going to turn physical, but Saigon, you were definitely doing some physical.
Nah, that was in the very, very beginning. You know, I got
He got anger management.
Yeah, exactly. So in the first beginning, I was like, I'm gritting my teeth. You know, I'm angry man. Yeah, doing push-ups. It's going down.
Saigon then goes on to mention that he's not really a battle rapper, and Joe is pretty much known for his rap beefs, like with The Game, for example.
You understand? The first thing I seen when I Googled this dude was Joe Budden versus Gang, Joe Budden versus G, Joe Budden versus
the world.
Joe Budden versus. I'm like, damn, like he's seasoned. You know what I mean? This is my first time.
They were also asked if they would do a song together, to which they said they were down to do that.
Would you say that you guys are cool now? Like cool enough, like let's do a record together cool?
I mean, I wouldn't be against it, man.
And this did wind up happening eventually, but I'll get back to that in a minute. Funny enough, the conversation then wound up turning to another beef that Joe had, that being his issue with DJ Vlad, which is still ongoing in fact.
Last time I heard you were angry and volatile, but it has something to do with DJ Vlad.
You know what's funny? I had a long conversation with Vlad after you hung up that phone.
Mm-hmm. Joey put me on the spot. DJ Vlad was up here. He was like, I'm trying to talk to Vlad. Call him on three-way.
Is that when he looked up journalists?
Saigon. No. This is the other day when I called Angela Yee and I said, give me Vlad's number right now. And she called him on three-way.
No, you asked me to call him on three-way.
Oh, yeah, I did ask. because if my number showed up,
he wasn't answering.
He wouldn't answer.
Though, according to whenever Vlad mentions it in interviews, it's a very one-sided issue. They go on to speak about how people are so drawn to things like rap beef and how positive things often get ignored.
It was interesting about Saigon. Saigon actually did a video where he said that the only reason people will watch shit is if you are beefing.
Yeah. You just see the views with a diss record or something negative.
But put Saigon in the gym with his shirt off beefing.
Yeah, you see, nobody. Now I got like 4 million hits.
Yeah. I know I looked.
When I'm acting like a fucking fool, but when I'm up there trying, look, I'm at the Great Wall of China about to jump. Nobody cares.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, we don't care.
They're like boring.
You're not fighting. Are you doing kung fu on somebody? Fuck out of
Unfortunately, that's where hip hop has become, and because of that, Now you have a bunch of fabricated bullshit.
Then Angela asked about who reached out first to squash things, to which they replied that it was Joe. The beef lingered on briefly, it seems, for a little while longer, however, because later in 2009, Saigon would speak on the beef with Joe in interviews and continue to make negative comments. In at least one instance, he made a comment on the group Slaughterhouse, which Joe is a member of, stating that they can rap, but they can't make hit records.
I'm a fan of Joel, I'm a fan of Crooked Eye, and I'm a great fan of Royce, and I think they can rap, but I just don't think these motherfuckers can make records. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's one song on there that we're going to be singing 2 years from now.
Apparently, this rubbed Royce the 5'9" the wrong way, as he responded to Saigon with a diss track 187 from his mixtape Bar Exam 3, released in 2010, which uses the beat from the 50 Cent song Flight 187 from his album Before I Self-Destruct, released in 2009. On the first verse, he has the lines, "Calm down, shh, you're so emotional. I know where you're at in your career is such a low for you. I understand it, but understand this. My daddy taught me manners, so it's foreign to fly off the handle and talk to cameras. That shit is lame. Lames we don't respect. We wondering why the fuck you so upset." This probably being a reference to Saigon mentioning Joe Budden and Slaughterhouse in interviews. Then he ends the first verse telling Saigon he's going to wind up having to work in fast food with the lines, "I promise you that if you chill now, in 5 years, I will not ride through the McDonald's drive-thru and bother you. I'm here for fries, that's it, chicken nuggets. Give me some sweet and sour sauce too and quit your bugging. I'm just above it. I'm too mature for this. It ain't smart to go to war for this." Then in the second verse, he compares Saigon to the cartoon character Johnny Bravo with the lines, "Come on Johnny Bravo, you fucking with the whole Detroit. Chill out, them SOBs without the swing and easy get out. I'm quick to stick the clip in, just ask my nigga Crooked. Joey Budden got you niggas tripping." For those that don't know, Johnny Bravo was a cartoon character that had a pretty built upper body, but had pretty skinny legs. So he's making a comparison to the fact that Saigon was built in the upper body, but not so much in the lower body. Things seemed to settle down again after this. Then in 2011, Saigon's debut album was released, which features the single Bring Me Down. Saigon and Joe wound up doing a remix to the song. The two continued on with their music careers. Saigon released Greatest Story Never Told 2 and 3, and Joe Budden continued releasing albums until he quit rapping to focus on podcasting and other ventures. Now that was the Joe Budden and Saigon beef. I'm probably going to be covering some more classic Joe Budden beefs pretty soon on the channel, so stay tuned. He might not rap anymore, but he's definitely had his fair share back when he was putting out albums and mixtapes. Once again, I'm glad to say it's another beef that stayed on wax, gave us some pretty good diss tracks, and was squashed peacefully. What are your thoughts on the situation? What's your favorite track from it? Who went harder? What other rap beefs got their opponent's son to start rapping? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Click the thumbs up button if you liked the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and of course, check out the Patreon or consider becoming a YouTube channel member to help support the channel further, and let me know what you'd like to see more of.